For an early birthday gift, my wife took me to East Falls Glassworks near Philadelphia for a glass blowing class. We built these wavy glass bowls. To be honest, it was rather intimidating when we first started, but the instructors were great. There's Jennifer behind my wife Kim, and they did a great job of first showing us how to make the bowls, and then when we took turns making them ourselves, they really assisted to make sure that everything was running smoothly and safely. There was a ton of technique involved that you certainly wouldn't be able to do your first time. So there my wife is slowly turning the glass inside the furnace there. She had just dipped it into some glass pellets that had some coloring on them. And she's going to go sit down on the bench here. A good idea was to have that protector on the arm there. It was rather hot. That glass you could see, I think gets upwards of 2,000 degrees. Maybe at this point it's not quite that hot, but you definitely, when you were working near that glass end, you definitely felt the heat radiating. So having that sleeve there just helped. Here, Jennifer is blowing a little bit of air in there and sealing off the end of the tube with her thumb, and that forces the air to expand and start the glass blowing. The way she described it to us, that glass blob that's on the end there, that's molten in there, is pretty solid when you first start trying to blow it out, and it requires a lot of pressure to get it moving. So they used a little bit of physics there, get some air in it, and then let the air expand as it heats up. And here, Kim and the instructor are shaping the glass, getting it into a nice circular shape. Like I said, they did a great job of helping us. All the very difficult parts they were helping, like some of this here where she's refining the shape here. And they did all the actual glass blowing, but it was such an amazing experience and almost hypnotic when you watch the glass go in and out of the furnaces. The larger furnace, which is kind of in the background there, that guy just kind of walked past it, is where they store between 200 and 500 pounds of glass. I think it holds up to 500 pounds of glass, they said. It's clear glass that they have in that furnace, and it's kept at 2,000 degrees 24/7. It's just takes forever to get up to heat, so it's more economical to keep it running and always ready. That guy in that white t-shirt, I think, is actually reaching in to grab some glass now. Behind what they're doing here in the foreground is shaping it with, I believe that was called a jack. So they're putting a kind of a score line in it that later here you'll see in a couple steps. They're actually going to take the glass off of this, and it's going to break right around where, or right at where she was scoring it with those pincher-like tools. Again, I think that was called a jack. I can't imagine how many years of experience it takes to get really good at this. I had gone first, and when she first handed me the rod there with the glass on the end, I was kind of holding it almost straight down, and you could tell it was starting to misshape pretty quickly. She jumped in quickly and made sure it was kept in the shape that it needed to be in, but I do think there's a lot of technique involved there. But the whole group there was so great. There was, I believe, 4 people there helping with the instructions and making sure everything was running smoothly. And so here she's, I guess, slowly adding more pressure inside there. Again, I think that's another one of those things, like, probably takes a little bit of skill to be able to blow with enough pressure, but probably also knowing when and how much pressure to put on there. So again, she's getting that nice score line there. And the glass has to keep going in and out of the oven. And over on the right there, it's not seen anymore, but you can see my wife chose apple green as a color. I chose a gray and white. And here this paddle is being used to flatten the bottom of the bowl. So ultimately this will be the bottom edge there, getting a nice flat surface, or a fairly flat surface on there. And Jen takes over here. Again, I think this is another one of those steps that you really need some experience to do this properly. But you can see she's continually slowly adding air there. And they have another team member jumped in here, and they're now attaching a second rod. And you're going to see what she's going to do here is, I guess, get a little bit of water on that jack. And right there, it's going to get broken off, like right here. I'm just going to give it a little tap there, and it breaks off. And so now that's going to be the bowl. So that edge where she broke it off is ultimately going to be the open section, or the top section of the bowl. And again, having people there helping us make sure it runs smoothly and safely. Like, I was concerned going into it. Man, this looks, it's a little intimidating, scary. You're working with some very hot stuff. And so here she's going to slowly start to open up the bowl. I think they were commenting that my wife, when she pinched down that bowl, maybe did it a little bit more aggressively than I did. So they had to work a little bit harder than I did to open up the bowl. But yeah, you can see she has just the tiniest little hole in there. It's amazing because this thing's going to turn a green color when they're done. And it's just still glowing hot red and orange and yellow. And you can see the effect there of the clear bowl, where those little dots were the dyed glass that my wife dipped this in earlier, those little green specks, or what will be green specks. There we got my wife back in there working on it. They did really have to work. I think I was able to get it open in like 2 passes, but here they had to start with putting just one edge of the jack in there, and then they ultimately get 2 edges in. It was a fairly hot day when we did this. I was a little worried that it would be a little too hot in there, but it was kind of comfortable. There was a breeze going through, and I think they had some fans and stuff going. Certainly when you get near the furnaces, it's hot, but again, she's slowly working on it. Really enjoyed taking these videos. It was fun to kind of get that angle up that we just saw a second ago. I didn't ask her about it, but Jen's got some nice tattoos there. Now what they're ultimately going to do here is, once they get this opened up enough, I can't remember if they have to do this 1 or 2 more times, but once they get this opened up enough here with this tool, they're going to be able to start spinning it in the furnace there, and that's rather mesmerizing to actually watch. Again, I think another one of those things where you have to be kind of skilled at doing this. And I don't think it's quite ready yet. They're constantly going in and out of the heat, making sure that it's hot enough to be somewhat fluid or liquid-like, where you can actually form it. There was, I think, maybe 5 different groups of people there, 4 or 5 different groups. So they actually had the furnace going in the background there. And we had friends that had done this, which is what gave my wife the idea. They actually made pumpkins, I think a couple weeks ago or so. They came and did this. I would, again, highly recommend that if you're near a place that would do this, to give this a try, because it's a really cool experience. I didn't ask, but I should have found out, like, really how much work goes into getting to a point where you can, do some of this stuff on your own. But she did say that they do this, usually they have more than one person helping. So it is kind of a team effort. And there we can see she's opening those doors on the furnace there. She did say they call that the glory hole. And she's getting to a point here where, again, she needs to get it hot enough, but she's going to keep working it and this bowl is going to eventually, just with centrifugal force, just start to open up further. And this one did take a little bit longer, but she eventually gets it going here. There she's testing it out to see if it's going to start to form the wavy bowl that we're looking for out of this. And it wasn't quite ready because the walls of the glass are still a little too thick. I would definitely go back and try this again. I think they have other classes there. I saw they had a list for intermediate classes. My wife was saying they do wine glasses. They did the pumpkin bowl, the little pumpkin ornaments. This wavy bowl may have been the coolest one to do, though. It's kind of neat when you really think about it. Like, you're starting with this blob of glass, like a solid blob of glass that's heated up. And eventually you can blow air into it and shape it and then spin it, and you get almost like a plate-like. And it wasn't quite ready to go yet. So much technique involved in this. There was that shield that's kind of off to the side. Oh, and there we go. There we go. Yep, so it's starting to give that shape we want. But yeah, there was a shield that you could put in front of the furnace there, and there was like a little glass plate you could look through. That was kind of like looking through sunglasses. We never needed that. But it was a little tricky looking in the furnace where all the clear glass is stored. It's really hard to tell where the clear glass began and ended. It was just glowing white and red and yellow. And here we are. She's going to remove the bowl from that rod there. So get a little bit of water on there. My wife will give it a little hit with the little slugger. Off it goes. So they're going to heat up the very bottom of this just to smooth out that little spot where the rod had been attached. And that's largely it. Now, off in the back, there's another, I forget what they call it. It's kind of like a kiln where the glass started at 2,000 degrees, over 2,000 degrees. And it has to go in, now that it's formed, it's going to have to go into a 900 degree kiln and cool off, if you want to call it that, at 900 degrees so that it doesn't explode. So you have to keep it at a lower temperature for a while. And there's the kind of the final product. So it's going to take a little while before we get these back. We don't live near Philadelphia. We're like 2 hours away. So we're going to have to plan another trip to go in to pick up our bowls. But I'm so excited to see what they look like once they're all done. And like I said, I would definitely recommend this to anyone. And certainly something I wouldn't mind going and doing again. So thanks for watching.